Hello,
Hello.
everyone. This is Allison Gross and Marquis Fortius, and we're back with another one of our podcasty thingies. This
We
time,
haven't even uploaded one yet, have we?
I'm gonna upload it like today, actually,
Yeah, we.
or tomorrow, one of those days, because I've run out of other things to upload. Because somebody's been keeping me too busy to actually record anything.
Oh, now you don't have enough things to record. First it was too much, now it's not enough.
No, I still have a bunch of crap to edit because of all the stuff that I've recorded with you. I just don't have any of my own stuff to upload right now because I haven't gotten a chance to record any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we decided that for this podcast we should do a happy topic because
yeah.
our last topic was not happy, apparently.
Well, it's been like 3-1,
Not happy.
And we want, to generally have an even spread.
And happy topics are, I guess, the ones where we talk about video games.
Things that we like rather than things we don't.
Yes. Well, last time we were talking about a thing we liked, which was cultural appropriation, but I guess we were talking about how other people don't like it, so...
For some reason,
Anyway, but our topic for this time is we're going to talk about strategy video games, which mostly, it's not like 100% this way, but for a large part divide into turn-based strategy games and real-time strategy games.
There is overlap, and...
Yeah, but, so, this works very well because I'm much more of an RTS fan, and he's a really big turn-based strategy fan, so we're going to be kind of talking about our different views about the two closely related genres.
I like the hardcore turn-based.
Okay, dude, that isn't necessarily more hardcore because
casual StarCraft.
Okay, I do not play StarCraft. I do not like StarCraft. StarCraft is not hardcore enough for me.
Yeah, no, you're all original Age of Empires.
Or let me put it this way, because I'm sure for all of the competitive people that StarCraft is very hardcore. StarCraft is not hardcore enough in the right way for me. It doesn't have enough butter. As a matter of fact, StarCraft has virtually no butter.
It's all streamlined.
Yes. And I do not like strategy games that streamline the butter.
So tell me, what do you mean by butter?
Okay, don't patronize me, and you shouldn't patronize
I don't know what you mean by butter.
Okay, so it's a very old concept in economics. Did you take economics like in high school or something?
No.
Okay. So at my high school we were required to take an econ class, and then I took like 2 econ classes in college as sort of like placeholder things, but whatever. It's a very basic concept in economics where you talk about like the economy of your country, and they have it as I'm doing it the wrong way. I guess it would make sense if I did it like this to you guys. That you have like a curve on an XY axis, and it's referred to as guns versus butter. That you have, one axis is your guns axis, which means your military production, and then your other axis is... Axis. They're together, plural is axes. One is an axis. That is the butter axis, which is your non-military product. And this is a basic issue for every country. How much of your budget are you going to put towards military production, and how much of it are you going to put towards non-military production? And it is a either-or situation, because you have a finite amount of money or resources, and the more resources you invest in guns, the less you have to invest in butter.
Mm-hmm.
And in an RTS, this translates into, how much are you going to invest in building military units versus how much are you going to invest in building workers or buildings or something like that.
Yeah. I personally... I like it when military units collect resources for you in some way.
I don't, because then you
Like
don't
in
have to
Company
make
of Heroes.
you don't have to make the choice. Though in an RTS, guns versus butter means more than how are you as the player, how much resources are you as the player going to invest in each side. It also involves how much resources did the game designers invest in developing each aspect of the gameplay. And so when I say that StarCraft is a high guns, low butter game, it means that resource gathering is very streamlined, but combat is very complex. That there's a lot of units that do specific things and everything. Actually, I haven't played StarCraft, but I know this because StarCraft is very similar to, say, Warcraft 3, which I did play, and that was also a low butter, high guns game. And from what I've heard, I think StarCraft is even more extreme in that regard.
Yeah, you basically... Yeah.
And so, like, when I played Warcraft 3, resource gathering was very automatic. You built, like, individual not units, but, like, buildings. And they would just sort of somehow generate resources for you.
You still have to send, like, the workers there, but yeah. It depends on what faction you played, I think, come to think of it.
I was playing orcs.
Yeah, I think orcs you still have to send units.
I mean, I remember it was very simplistic.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, the battle units are very specific. That, like, you have to specifically direct the Kodo to swallow people. You have to... Oh, God, I hated the fucking elvish sorceresses. But you had to specifically direct them to cast spells, and then you had to choose the spell they were going to cast. And, that is a high guns, low butter game, which is not the type of game that I enjoy. The type of game that I like is where you make units, and it can be complex in that there can be many different kinds of units you can make that have different strengths and weaknesses, and you can buy upgrades for the units, and the upgrades can be complicated because they can be part of a tech trait. But once you've built the unit, you just take the unit and you say, walk that way, enemy that way. And when it gets there, it will do its thing and kill the enemy.
Yeah. I remember in Company of Heroes, the units are very good at doing their thing. Like, for example, they seek their own cover, and cover's very important in that game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to make them rub against the wall. They will run to the wall.
That doesn't sound right. You have to go make your units rub against walls.
Yeah. And they generally had very few activated abilities.
Right. No, that's the type of game I like, where the units are... I mean, semi-autonomous. Like, you have to tell the units, go to this area, but if they go there and there's enemies there, they will attack them.
Yeah.
And they will use their own abilities independently. I don't mind if... I think units having different abilities is cool, like... if the Kodo had a swallow whole ability, but, like, it would just... every 30 seconds just swallow the unit in front of it whole.
I remember Dawn of War.
Mm-hmm.
I think that had a little more annoying abilities. I can't remember. But a lot of the, the big units you could build, they'd have all these, cool animations. Things like swallowing whole and impaling things on swords.
Yeah, as long as they do that on their own.
Yeah, they do that completely on their own.
Awesome. Yeah,
It's mostly a thing of animation rather than special ability. Like, they're things that would attack lots of things, would deal less damage, but then they take like 10 seconds to kill one thing in a special gruesome way.
Okay. um, I did enjoy. Well, I didn't. There were a lot of issues with Age of Myth, but I did enjoy. I thought the myth units were very cool. And I think most of those did not have activated abilities. Um, the my favorite one was the Hydra, which was definitely not an activated ability. That it started off with one head, and the more you used it, it would get more heads. And so you could just basically like grow your Hydras, which was super awesome. But it wasn't like you didn't have to. It was an automatic thing. So yeah, I dislike high guns in that regard. Like, I don't want to have to be like constantly watching the battle and, well, watching the battle is okay, and then be like, oh god, my units are getting really beat up, I need to tell them to retreat now or something.
I remember in Company of Heroes, not your tanks, but like your troop units have a retreat button that makes them like leg it back to base.
Oh, nice.
And they take less damage while retreating. And this is really important because building whole new squads is very expensive, but reinforcing existing squads is much cheaper.
Ah. Yeah, I definitely prefer things where it's better if you repair or heal or reinforce or whatever that you recycle your existing stuff rather than that's more efficient than building new stuff.
Yeah. And generally most units are made so that they start taking less damage when they're on really low health, so it generally... rarely, unless they're, say, in an artillery strike, do they get, like, instantly killed.
I mean, because I think that's something that kind of annoyed me. One of the few things I didn't like about the original Age of Empires is that it wasn't really more efficient to, like, say, repair a building than to build a new building. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, what's the fucking point of even having a repair feature? Why is anybody gonna use it?
I don't know.
I still used it anyway just to be contrary, but... I mean, I guess the thing is that if you're trying to, like, if you're being attacked and they're, like, say, shooting your dock or something, and you need to build more ships, if you keep repairing the dock, you can keep building ships, whereas if you built a new dock... it would take a long time to build the dock, so then they would just overwhelm you because you couldn't make new ships. Also, because if people are, like, guarding you, you can't, like, build a dock. Because when you start building something in that game, it starts out with 1 hit point and gradually gains more hit points as it's built.
Yeah.
So if you start building a dock, the dock appears, somebody's building it, it has 1 hit point, they shoot it, and it blows up. So... Actually, because there's a fog of war effect, once your stuff along the shoreline is destroyed, you can't tell if they're there or not. So sometimes you're like, I wonder if they're gone. Let me try to build a dock. Boom! Okay, they're not gone.
That's ridiculous.
Yes. But anyway...
I'm trying to think of other real-time strategies I've played. Command and Conquer...
Well, you played Pharaoh. That's a real-time strategy.
Yeah, but... Yeah, one of the things we'll talk about is...
Pharaoh is a much more butter-centric game, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll wait until we talk about butter to talk about that, then.
Yeah, because... And... One of the things that I kind of like in strategy games is if they're less competitive.
Ah.
I don't know how to describe this, but like Pharaoh is about completing objectives, not about destroying the enemy before they destroy you.
Well, that's the kind of game I really like, is a game that has different objectives, and that was one of the things I really liked at the original Age of Empires, is that it would give you a set of objectives that you had to complete for each mission. And some of them were combat-based objectives, but some of them weren't.
Yeah. There was a bit of that in Warcraft too. Sometimes you must collect 1,000 wood, and then all your orcs turn evil, and now you have to kill this thing.
Oh, I hated that mission.
I
Don't even
fucking
talk
hated
about
that mission. There are other missions that were pretty bad, but that was the worst mission. It's just like, I have no fucking control over what's going on. I know this is a bad idea.
Yes.
You know, kind of the same what happened with Illidan, but I don't know. I don't know. I felt like you kind of needed the power more with Illidan, and then it's just like everyone overreacts. It's just like, oh my god, you look like a demon, bro.
Yes.
It's just like, we reject you. It's just like, why? Why?
Because Illidan had to be a tragic hero, that's why.
Tragic, stupid.
I don't know, I thought Illidan was kind of tragic.
I mean, yeah, he was a good character, but...
But anyway, let's...
Not like Grom Hellscream, he's just like... Oh, bruh.
Oh, I do. You know, what they did later with his whole story arc is just...
Oh, what did they do? Didn't he die?
Yeah, he died, but then... Like, later you get a portal back to Draenor. And
that's in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, and you find his son, and his son gets brought to Azeroth, and then...
Wait, you're creating time paradoxes now?
No. It's in... Well, the most recent expansion is about a time paradox where you go back to... But no, this is in present time. You get a portal back to Draenor, and... Or is it Draenor? I think it is. Anyway, you find...
Whatever the Outlands used to be called.
Yeah. You find his son there, and he gets brought to Azeroth, and, you know, he's all, like, obsessed with, like, proving his worthiness and redeeming his fathers.
Why? What did you...
Except that because of that, he becomes obsessive and evil, and... So, basically, at some point, he becomes leader of the Horde.
The Horde isn't evil, though, is it?
No. But he is made leader of the Horde, even though he's obviously, like, insane and borderline evil.
Yeah, it's kind of like if they made the Warden leader of the Night Elves.
Because...
It's just like... You remember the Warden, like, I really liked that character.
I don't.
She was the one that was hunting Illidan, and then she became obsessed with it. And it kind of, like... She did evil... No, she did, like... She became really... Not... You know, just uncaring. It's just like... Well, you know, I could, like, take 10 seconds to save this person who fell into the river, but that would be 10 seconds, like, distracting from me chasing Illidan.
But anyway, he gets made heir anyway because, like, you know, like, Grom Hellscream, so awesome, whatever. And so then he, like, imposes, like, weird martial law and basically makes the central area of the Horde only accessible to orcs or something.
Wait, what? Why? Isn't the Horde supposed to be unified?
Yes, but he...
It's just like, oh, nobody raised an eyebrow to this? It's just like,
No, they do. So the leader of the Tauren, like, challenges him, and they fight, and he kills him. Like, he kills the leader of the Tauren, who's, like, the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, fucking stupid, like... Anyway, I don't want to talk about Warcraft lore, because
It's stupid and convoluted, and everyone's an anti-hero.
I hate it now. I utterly hate it.
Yeah, they should just come up with new stuff. Stop rehashing old things. Like, what happened to all that creativity that made this interesting world?
This is not talking about strategy games.
Yeah, it's just bitching about World of Warcraft now.
But anyway, so...
Let's talk about Europa.
We're not done talking about RTSs yet. We talk. Well, you want to talk about? Okay, let's talk about that. We have to talk about butter at some point, though. We've talked about guns. We have to talk about butter at some point.
Well, let me see. Well, Europa, I think, is a kind of like mix. It's definitely halfway.
Right, but Europa isn't it turn based?
No, it's real time. You can just pause the game at any point.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like Dwarf Fortress.
Okay.
And like, yeah.
Yeah, he also plays Dwarf Fortress, which
So hardcore!
I'm extremely envious of. I find the concept of Dwarf Fortress really cool, but it's just like... And he's trying to show me the game, but the problem is
I think what I need to do is show you some of the earlier versions, because that's how I got into it. Like,
well, part of it is that just with the graphics, like, you cannot tell what the fuck is going on.
initially, yeah. Definitely with the original Asadi graphics. Sorry, I'm not hardcore enough. I don't use the original Asadi graphics.
ASCII, but yeah.
ASCII. I use the texture packs. Though I play Dungeon Crawl with the original ASCII graphics. I like that.
I didn't like that either, but it's easier to follow the fucking Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah, because it's in narrow corridors most of the time.
Yes.
And yeah, you're focused on your character the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to tell, like, a dwarf from the ground. Because the ground all looks the same.
Because the ground is actually black instead of being textured and stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, they use like lots of different symbols for the ground to make it look diff. Yeah, it's just yeah, they did yeah, the ASCII graphics in Dwarf Fortress are pretty awful.
Even the texture packs are really hard to follow.
The ones that kind of make things more uniform are better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's just like, oh, these are all trees. So there's like, it's just like so busy that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you were talking about
Europa, where we tried to make the Pope conquer the world.
we haven't posted that yet. That still has to get edited.
Yeah.
And then we should play more of that sometime because it was awesome. But
We might have to do it on your computer. Because of all the stuff that's happening with my computer.
I thought the only problem with your computer was it didn't connect to the internet.
Yeah.
And that the cord is bad, but you could borrow my cord.
Yeah, then there's also the thing about it overheating. That's always a... Yeah. So Europa's fun. It's also a ridiculously complex game.
Okay, no. We have to talk about degrees of ridiculous complexity. Yes, Europa is ridiculously complex.
But it's necessarily
But
complex.
Dwarf Fortress is ridiculously complex compared to Europa.
And, yeah, Dwarf Fortress has a horrible interface. And...
Though apparently not as bad as Ultima 5's interface.
What do you mean? Ultima 5 was okay. Like, Ultima 6! Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, oh god. I am not looking forward to playing that for that reason. But, no, I remember in your first Ultima 5 video, when you were trying to figure out the controls, you're like, not even Dwarf Fortress has controls this bad.
No, I was being facetious. Dwarf Fortress's controls are worse.
Well,
They're worse! Because there's like... Dwarf Fortress also has capital keys, and then once you press one key, that takes you to another menu. So it's like menus in the menus.
Our menus have menus on them.
Yeah, leading to menus.
Alright, so let's talk about Europa, which is not as complicated as Dwarf Fortress.
So yeah, it's real time, but I like it when it's the type of game where you can pause any time. Thing is, most real-time strategies like StarCraft don't have that because one, they're competitive, and two, they're made for multiplayer.
Okay, I don't like the pause feature. To me, if a pause feature is necessary, the game is too fucking complicated.
Well, for a real-time strategy.
Yes.
But,
So-
well, Europa isn't the same kind of real-time strategy. I don't know what to call it. It's kind of... You start out with one base, and then you expand, and then you build tier buildings.
Mm-hmm. This was like a really bizarre strategy game that I played for a while. It's an interesting type of game, but...
What's it called?
Lords of the Realm.
Mm.
It was turn-based. In that
Oh, Lords of the Realm. Yeah, I remember that.
each season is a turn.
Yeah, each season is a turn.
But then the combat was real time, and
And the combat was so shit.
that was the thing. I played it and I kind of liked it okay until I got to the combat.
Yeah,
I was
no,
like,
exactly
this is a
the
piece
same.
of crap.
It's exactly the same with me. It's just like, oh, this is interesting. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. Oh, I've got to conquer these people. Oh, okay. What the fuck is up with this combat?
Well, the thing, it was so
It's no
bizarre.
strategy. It's just like you have the biggest army and you win.
Well, no, you can. Like, I remember that I was able to, because I had these knights, except that the other side had halberdiers, and they were able to take out my knights with the halberdiers. So then when I tried replaying the battle, I had my archers shoot the halberdiers, and then things went much better. But it was just like,
It's very messy as well.
yes, well, you're playing, and it's this really slow, relaxed, turn-based thing. And then suddenly it's like, and
Yeah.
it's just like, this is completely incongruous, and really the only way you could do anything in that game was to pause battles constantly.
Yeah.
And that was like, that just, the whole pausing battles thing does not appeal to me. And it was like, basically this battle needs to be turn-based. And you made it not turn-based for some reason, so I have to constantly pause it to make it artificially turn-based.
So I remember in Europa, the battles are, well, military and invasion is very important to the game.
Right, but you're not like directly controlling the battles, because you just have this big overhead map. You don't actually
Yeah, it's just
go
like
in and
it's just
fight.
like 2 bars, and then you attach generals to your things, and they can really improve things.
Right.
And then your generals die over time. It's just like, no, he had 5 points in everything.
Yeah, our Pope General is like
Oh god, that's
70
right.
years old or something.
That's right, Pope General, because it doesn't matter, because another Pope will just get elected.
Well, yeah, but he might not be a good general, so it's like we have to hurry up and go conquer stuff before he dies.
That's right. Yeah, I really wanted to, like, get colonies. It's just like the Papal State colonies. It's just like, South America will really get Catholicized now.
But we can't make diplomatic marriages, which is too bad. I'm like, why can't the Pope's illegitimate children marry people? That actually happened in history.
Oh, god.
Yeah, so Europa is kind of a nation building sort of
It's
thing.
very realistic. Everything's based on history, and you, like, at a certain point of history, you get to play whatever country you want. Like, and there are so many countries.
It's very similar, I think, to Crusader Kings, where it's like your country's dynasty you kind of shepherd along.
And there's no, like, victory objectives, which I like, you don't like.
I don't like that. I want a game that has... See, that's the thing. I really
know,
love this concept. The mechanics of a game like this, and I haven't played Crusader Kings yet, but I really want to give it a try. But the thing is that it's kind of just so aimless for me. I want to have clear victory conditions. I want to play scenarios, like that sort of thing.
I personally like making your own thing. That's why I like Minecraft and Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress has no victory conditions either.
Well, Dwarf Fortress's
Well,
goal
survive.
is to survive
Yeah.
and get many, many kitties.
Shh. No, you gotta kill all the kitties.
No!
And harvest their skulls and make
Do
totems.
not harm the cute little kitties.
But they dropped the FPS!
That's too bad.
And then they adopt people, and then you can't kill them.
Of course.
They're evil, hypnotizing kitties.
That's what kitties are like. They're cuckoos. Stop kicking the table. You're moving things.
Just like...
Anyway, so...
what other So what turn-based strategies have you played that you've liked?
The only turn-based strategy I've played that I liked was the Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is turn-based.
Yes.
Combat's turn-based, and... Yeah. I've played Heroes of Might and Magic 4, and now this video is probably going to get thumbed down for me saying that, because I kind of liked it.
Oh, I didn't know that people hated Heroes of Might and Magic 4. I thought you said you didn't like it because you always had to build exactly the same things. I remember we had an argument about this very early on, like when we were talking on YouTube, that you said there was some Heroes game, and I thought it was Heroes 4 that you said you disliked because it was too formulaic. Like you couldn't decide what things you wanted to build. Like there was a specific path, and if you wanted to be successful, you basically had to build that path.
Wait, what? I can't remember this.
Oh, that's odd. And I said that I mean, I hadn't played Heroes 4, but I had played Heroes 3, and that wasn't my understanding from playing Heroes 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so
There were a lot of annoying things about Heroes 4, though. Basically because I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, I wasn't good at Heroes 3 either, but I really liked the concept.
Yeah, basically the same with me.
I tried playing Heroes 5, and
you don't hear much about Heroes 5.
it was really stupid. It had this annoying story mode that was just kind of stupid and annoying. But it was amusing. The graphics were really, really awful. Basically, all of your units... Well, I was playing the story mode, so it was like the humans. I didn't get very far into it. But all of your units looked like fat dwarves. Yes. Like, all of your units...
Except for the fat dwarves.
Well, I was playing humans, so there weren't any fat dwarves, but they were
Wait,
all...
humans? That's a faction?
Yeah.
I thought there were humans in every faction.
Well, I don't... This is like the... I think it's like the...
The life faction or the
Yeah.
angels.
Yeah. But, I mean...
The one that's mostly humans.
Yeah, and this was the very beginning, so so the knights and everything, I mean, they still kind of look like fat dwarves.
They look like fat centaurs.
But the peasants, because since it was the beginning, a lot of your units were just peasants, they were like... What? So ridiculous! It was not even... They were more extreme than Longar the patrician in
Lom, I am Lomgar, devourer of worlds.
Yeah, in Anno 1404, like they were more extreme than that guy.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand, because this was like, if they had been supposed to be dwarves, I would have been like, okay, so I guess this is what they think dwarves look like. But they were humans! Like, they were supposed to be normal humans. And they're like, the knights on their horses had like these little tiny legs, and...
Maybe the people who made the game were all fat dwarves.
But anyway, I found it really annoying because it, like, spent so much time with, like, the story and stuff. I will enjoy a story in a good RPG, like, say, Dragon Age, but I don't really like games that try to impose a story on, like, mechanics that don't really have anything to do with story.
Yeah. I really, like, I'm gonna compare StarCraft to Warcraft 3. I was really annoyed how the story would just, like, cut in the middle of the battle.
Oh, I hate that. That was one of the things that ruined, like, Age of Empires 2 and Age of Myth for me, because...
I mean, it's
like
okay, like, when they occasionally talk in the middle of the battle, but when it's, like, a full-on cutscene, I'm just annoyed.
There was... Are you saying that Warcraft 3 didn't do that?
Did do that.
Yes.
StarCraft didn't. At the start of each battle, there was, like, a briefing thing where all the, characters talk to each other, and that's where you got your characterization, and I really liked that.
Yeah, that's less annoying. I mean, it's still a little bit...
And you could just skip it at any time. You could just, like, click start, start, start.
But... So this is one of the things that I thought was the stupidest thing ever. So when I was playing Age of Empires 2, there's this one mission where you start out, you're playing the Mongols, and your objective. I like when your objectives are static, basically, where I think you were talking about this too in Anno, like you don't like the fact that they keep giving us more objectives throughout the thing.
Is it like your objective by the end of it the opposite of what?
No, but I mean, I like when you get, a set of objectives, and it can be a long list or it can be very complicated, and then I have to figure out how to do them. If they're constantly changing the objectives, then...
Yeah, I remember in StarCraft, you usually, even if you don't get all of your objectives right away, you still get because of the briefing thing at the start, you get an idea of what the overall goal is.
Anyway, so you started out in this mission, and your objective at the beginning of the mission was wait for instructions from Genghis Khan. And then, you play for a while, and you do a little skirmishing, and you do some basic building and stuff, and then at some point there's just this cutscene where all of these, troops ride through, and Genghis Khan shows up, and you get your objectives for the mission. And I'm like, this is the stupidest piece of shit ever.
I remember this thing from Command & Conquer 3 when you're playing as Nod, and, the aliens have just started invading.
Mm-hmm.
And you've, teamed up... So basically at this mission you start off teamed up with GDI.
Okay.
And your objective is to, help them defend their base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what I do. I commit everything to, help protect them. Because I thought, oh, that's my mission. And I'm, at the point where I'm almost completely destroyed. And then the, Nod leader who you thought was dead, because he always, pretends to be dead. That's just what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Miraculously comes back and says, "What are you doing? Why are you fighting? Why are you allied with GDI? You have to destroy them now." And I was just and then all GDI becomes hostile. It's just I have all my battered troops in their base. I have been, doing everything to try to protect them, and now I have to destroy them.
That's
and I lost the mission.
Fucking stupid.
No, the thing is, I actually moved my base into their base in order to build up base defenses, and it's just oh, okay. So now I have to restart the mission and not protect them at all in order to win.
Yes.
And I'm just fuck that.
I think that's really
just
stupid.
That
if it gives you an advantage that you know what's going to happen later in the mission.
Yeah, and it's just the thing is, it's just I remember the mission is just they're attacking my base. It would be easier to defend, if I was to move my base into their base. Because it's relatively easy to do that in Command & Conquer.
So, would you consider Black and White a real-time strategy?
Is it really a strategy? Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. There's a difference.
I felt.
Well, I played Black and White 2, and I felt like it was kind of.
Oh, definitely more. But this thing in Black and White 2, there's less pressure than in Black and White 1, because in Black and White 1 you play against other gods and.
Wow, what the fuck? I thought there was. I quit Black and White 2 because there was too much pressure.
Yeah, there's.
Well, okay.
Well, when I say pressure, it's just I found Black and White 2 not challenging at all because you could just drop rocks on the invading armies.
Okay, so here's the thing. I found, Black and White 2, I guess I wouldn't say it was too much pressure, but I found it basically that it was basically trying to force you to play the game in a certain way, and I hate that.
In Black and White 1, it was a lot harder to lose, but harder to win as well.
See, that I would really like. I want a game to be challenging, but a game where you just get wiped out is not fun.
Yeah. It's hard in Black and White 1, it's harder to win, but also harder to lose. Because in order to lose, you have to, lose everything. And it's just as hard to lose everything as to get everything.
Well, the problem is that in Black and White 2, you have these, miracles that you can cast.
Yeah, same in Black and White 1.
But the thing is that these miracles, are... your opponent can also cast them, and they're...
In Black and White 2?
Yes.
Oh, that's right, in the expansion, you get...
They are...
Wait, are you talking about the creature?
No, I'm talking about, like...
The undead god thing?
No, the earthquake miracle, the volcano...
Oh, yeah. No, fuck those miracles, yeah.
No, but in the later missions, basically, the thing is that your opponent would start making one of these miracles, and the whole thing was just a timer you had to win before the miracle could go off, because it would just destroy you. And the problem was, I was trying to play as a good deity where you, like, convert people, and that's very slow. So these missions were basically impossible.
Yeah, I must have had a bugged version because, they only ever did the miracle once, and then they'd stop. I was just like, you have...
No, you were just wiped out at that point.
What, you just... I mean, yeah, it did a lot of damage, but it wasn't like you lost, right?
I mean, unless they just sat around and did nothing, like, they had troops that would then come in and finish you off.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, I had to deal with the troops then, that's right. Because they'd always go for the walls.
And so I just was really pissed off because it's like the whole point of this game is that you have options on how you play it. Except then they make, when you play through the game, they make levels that are basically impossible to beat unless you choose certain options.
Yeah. I remember it was really annoying that they could cast the miracles inside your influence ring.
Yes.
Because in the first game, like, the influence rings were really, really, really important. You couldn't cast things outside your influence ring except for, like, a little distance out, and enemies just couldn't do shit.
No, I remember the opponent was able to cast a fucking earthquake in the middle of your city.
Yeah, that was so fucking bullshit.
And it's like, there's nothing I can do about
I did
this.
like the city building aspect of Black and White 2. It was much more in-depth than the one in 1.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of liked it as well, but it...
But then everything gets destroyed by an earthquake!
Yeah. Oh yeah, the other thing was that the devil with the, like, really weird pointy
Yeah, you're
boobs
conscious.
was super creepy, and he kept,
He
like,
doesn't do that in the first game.
what, have really weird pointy boobs that he
Yeah,
plays with?
they get stretched.
Yeah.
I don't know, in some ways Black and White, especially the original one, always felt more sandboxy to me. It's like, it's a playground, you can do whatever you want in. Like, it doesn't matter if you win, the guy's not going to come over and conquer you.
Mm-hmm.
You can just sit around.
I never played Black and White 1, but I've heard that the creature is harder to manage, and I would be amused
Yeah, it's
by
less
that.
streamlined.
Well, also, you don't hear the creature's thoughts.
That too, yeah, you have to do everything by looking at him.
Like,
You don't know when he's about to eat somebody.
he
He never did seem to eat anyone in the first game as he did in the second game.
yeah, it was just, you have this creature that he's like, I need to poo. I'm gonna go poo on this villager now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And in Black and White 1, there are much more interesting miracles.
yeah, the miracles in Black and White 2 were pretty stupid. I mean, beyond the fact
There were only
that
like 6, weren't there?
I think there were only 4.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the...
Besides the epic miracles, which didn't exist in the first game.
Oh, well, maybe I'm thinking of the epic miracles. I don't know. Or is that the expansion? There's like the siren miracle. There's another...
Yeah, those are all the epic miracles.
I don't remember what the other one was. Then there was the earthquake miracle, the volcano miracle.
And the hurricane.
Oh. Oh, yeah, the hurricane. Okay.
Except the Japanese called it the hurricane, and that was really weird, I always found. Remember the Japanese calling it the hurricane miracle, and I was just like, wait, why would they call it the hurricane?
I don't remember there being Japanese in the game.
What? There was the Japanese faction. They're the ones with the hurricane and the earthquake miracles.
And in the thing I was playing, you had all 4 miracles, and your opponent had whatever the scenario wanted you to have, and I don't remember there being
Wait, what? This is really weird.
specific, like... I remember it taking place in kind of a fantasy world that didn't have real world, like...
Yeah, there were the Greeks, the Norse, the Japanese, and the Aztecs.
I don't remember this at all.
Have we played two different games?
I mean,
We're
there's...
talking about Black and White 2, right?
Yes! I don't remember...
Maybe I got the cut-down Australian version or something.
Well, it sounds like mine was cut down because it didn't have different factions in it. Or at least... the factions are not related to, like, real-world things.
Really?
I mean, maybe that was just in the story mode. Maybe if I'd played a different mode, there was...
There wasn't a different mode.
Oh.
Unlike in the original Black and White where there were skirmish modes, which really pissed me off.
Wait, it pissed you off that there were skirmish modes?
That were not in Black and White 2.
Okay.
Because I thought that the game was much more tailored around a skirmish-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the first one was more tailored around story.
Yes. Alright, so we should talk about butter now because we,
But it isn't Black and White 1 was... well, there wasn't really any resource management in Black and White 1.
There was definitely some butter in Black and White too, because I remember you had to do farming and stuff, and you could have your
there was
creature
farming
help
and
farm, and then he could also poo on the fields to fertilize them.
Shh. I remember, like, yeah, the food was really weird in the first game because you could never really build enough fields, so you always just had to either steal food from someone else or every now and again just plop an animal in there and it would completely fill the thing.
But yeah, so butter being the other side to guns, all of these strategy games.
Oh no, I remember what I'd always do. I'd cast the food miracle to fill the things up.
I vaguely remember that. See, but that does not entice me in terms of butter because it's too simple.
Well, in order to cast miracles, you need to power the miracles, and therefore you need worshippers.
Ah, well there is
and
that.
And the worshippers need to be fed.
Yes.
And
so there is that. No, that's sounding more appealing now.
Of course, you could always just drop a villager on the sacrificial altar and get lots of...
If you're playing evil.
It's for the greater good.
But yeah, I like games that have very complex butter systems.
Yeah, like Anno.
Yes, I love Anno because...
Oh yeah, and like Imperialism, that's turn-based.
Yes.
And that's all about the butter. Very little guns.
Mm-hmm. Wait, how do resources work in Imperialism?
Remember, like... the workers need food, the apprentices need this.
Sugar.
And, like, they produce 4 units of production, and for every 2 units that produces the hats or the cigars or the... And then you need ships to transport stuff from the new world, and they need food.
The ships need food?
Well, the crew.
See, it's always funny, because like in Age of Empires, your boats need houses to live in as well. Like, if you've reached your population cap and you try to build like a boat, it'll be like you need to build more houses.
You need additional pylons.
Wait, oh,
that's from StarCraft.
Oh, that
they're like the equivalent of houses for one faction.
Oh, that's a thing in Cards Against Humanity. One of the cards says you must construct additional pylons, like in all caps.
Yeah. Because the way he says it is like very forceful and rude. It's just like you hear it all the time. You must construct additional pylons.
But yeah, so, first of all, I like having things where you have to make workers to collect resources, and you have to pay attention to the workers.
I don't like the fact that you have to constantly pay attention to stuff.
I do.
I prefer paying attention to graphs.
No.
I know, you definitely don't like
I
that.
dislike graphs immensely, which is one of the reasons why I did play Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, and I hated
Well, when
it.
I say graphs, I don't mean things like line graphs or anything like that. I mean, like, maybe tables is more the thing that I like.
No, I don't like that. I like to actually be...
Oh, yes! We should talk about Civilization and Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. I really like the Civilization games.
I don't know anything about the Civilization games. I just remember playing Alpha Centauri and remembering it was, like, mostly graphs.
Yeah, I didn't like Alpha Centauri. I liked the story of Alpha Centauri, but that's about it. My favorite, like, game in that kind of genre, like Civilization and all that, is Endless Space.
Which is not actually made by Sid Meier's, right?
Yeah. It's definitely based on... I love Endless Space. Or, it's more based on Master of Orion, a game that I've recently played and I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Not a game I grew up with like Civilization, but yeah, Master of Orion, Endless Space... Endless Legend to a degree. I much preferred Endless Space to Endless Legend. I really love customizing units.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Endless Legend, because you don't have spaceships, like, the customization
is
had to
much
be...
less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although you did do the thing where you could choose different minor factions.
Yeah,
And you could
but
put
it's
them
not
in
the
your
same
army.
thing as, like, getting to design your own ships.
To a degree, the ships were not that complex. Not the way they were in, like... Master of Orion, where you could have things like shuttle bays and transporters.
Maybe I'm remembering Master of Orion. I just remember you talking to me a lot about these ships that you were designing. And
I in the end, I just made ships that boarded the other ships, and then like I'd get the Antaran ships early. And things like that, and like two of my ships could just defeat these entire fleets because they'd just be transporting on their ships and completely disabling them.
yeah, but you still need enough, like, guys to... Because I'm assuming there's defense crews on the ships.
Yeah, I had weapons that kill people, that kill the defense crews on the ships.
Oh, okay.
They're like neural blasters.
Mm.
And so I could just transport one guy over and it would, like, take over the ship. Because the thing is, they have limited crew, and so, yeah. Master Orion, that was really fun. Endless Space 2. Turn-based strategy.
Yeah, I don't...
Trying to think of other turn-based or just strategy games in general.
I'm trying to talk about Butter, damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the having workers collect resources, having to manage, deciding how many workers to allocate to each type of resource collecting. I also like it where there's resource level trees, like what he was talking about in Imperialism, and this is also research.
I don't think there's research level trees in Imperialism.
Not research, resource.
Resource level. Yeah.
Because you're different. Imperialism, like in Anno, you have different levels of citizens.
So Anno is very complex.
It's way more complex than Imperialism.
Yeah, there's just like each level is one resource.
Okay, yeah. In Anno, like each level has like 6 resources.
Yeah.
And different things interact.
But the thing is, like,
ways.
once your supply chain gets broken, it really breaks down in Imperialism because, like, okay, you don't have any more sugar. Like, your apprentices stop working. Your apprentices stop working. They stop making things like cigars. You don't get as much production, which means that your specialized production things can't.
Because of course people can't work if they don't have cigars.
Or hats.
Or
Or hats. That was the funniest thing. It's just like, I can't work if I don't have a hat.
Sounds like these people have really strong unions. It's like,
Well,
we
they're
refuse
rich.
to work without hats.
Yeah, it's like they work in Australia. It's just like, we'll all get sunburned.
But no, yeah, I do like the interconnectedness of some of the resources in in Anno, though, like that level of complexity, because like when you grow hemp, you use it both to make rope and to make
Cannabis.
to make linen garments.
In order to get the peasants high.
Yeah, the peasants are so high in that game.
They look when they're in the euphoric state.
Well, yeah, when they're euphoric as
They look so high. It's just like
the citizens look pretty high too, with their huge like grids.
Yeah.
And also, though, you can also grow like wheat, and you need that to make bread and beer, and like when you mine iron, you can use iron to make a ton of different things, and you also need various resources.
Like coal, and there's multiple ways to get coal. The citizens don't figure out how to use a fucking coal mine until they get to a certain point. It's just like, how do we mine coal? We know how to mine iron, but we don't know how to mine coal.
Also stone. Well, I guess because coal is softer. I don't know.
What? Yeah, we don't have enough children to send into the mines yet. Not until the nobles come around.
Yes. Because they're all like the nobles' illegitimate children.
I don't know.
Maybe we're collecting people from like the beggar's house or something.
Yes.
But also, like for instance, there's a bunch of steps you have to go through to make glass, and at higher levels you need glass to make buildings that can make other things. So it's all extremely interconnected. I consider that game the ultimate butter game, which is why I love it, because... But
I don't even know why they bother having military at all.
The military is really horrible. You haven't played the military mission yet. That's the one we're on now, and you will hate it.
Why?
Because
I might love it.
I highly doubt it, because the military in this game is really badly designed. But this is a game where they allotted like, I would say 95% of their resources to butter, and they should have allotted 100% because the 5% that they spent on guns is just annoying.
Thing is, they should have made it less competitive. Because they wanted to have a butter-focused game, they shouldn't have had any competitive elements.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying.
Like, it should all be about expanding and... Because I like that. I especially love how you go to different islands. I love that. I always loved in StarCraft the maps that were all on, like, different islands rather than, like... And you'd have to send, like... something over to build there, and then you have that.
Right, well that's the thing I really like in Anno, is because when you build things on different islands, the resources don't transfer, so you have to set up trade routes to move your resources around.
Yeah.
So somehow on the same island,
that.
all resources that are in a workshop or in a warehouse magically transport to all other warehouses on the island.
I like that,
but
I just wish ships weren't so expensive to build.
yeah, there is that.
That is my only gripe with that. It's just like, oh, I have to build like 50 things of rope, and I don't have enough money, and there's no easy way to make money.
There's not enough hemp left to keep the citizens happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think...
Going back to Pharaoh, like, there's
we didn't talk about Pharaoh yet.
There's no main second way to make money in that game, except with trading with other factions, and that's
What's the first way?
Taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
In Pharaoh, like, depending on the kind of, like, way you build your city, you can focus it on taxes or trading. I always like taxes. And the thing is, the trading's very automatic. You just set up some things, and then traders come and do it.
Yeah, whereas in Anno you have to manually trade. I find the whole system, the money system in Anno, kind of annoying, because you make money through taxes, but then you have to pay upkeep on all the buildings, even though they're like businesses. It doesn't make sense. Like it seems like you're just like recycling money in an endless loop, that like your citizens are paying taxes, but then you're using the taxes to pay for all their buildings.
It's evil socialism.
It
Actually, no, it's more like communism, come to think of it.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Like,
how that
you
works.
own all the buildings.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it's not socialism. It's more like communism. You own all the businesses,
Yes.
and you just take everyone's money and
Yeah, that's somehow... Yeah, I don't know.
Ubisoft are communists. Run.
I'm sorry, you said Ubersoft, which reminded me that even though we went the short way, it still cost fucking $20 last night.
Oh yeah, Uber car.
Yes. Anyway,
Ubisoft.
so what were you saying about Pharaoh? Like,
Yeah, it's just like it was very interesting because it was all about like planning out your cities, like because the thing is the trade routes, for example, is like you want to put your like storage bins where all the trade routes are coming in, but you also want to put them close to where your things are being manufactured. And like with certain resources, it's hard to do both.
well, the other thing that I find really interesting in Pharaoh is that aesthetics actually is part of the game mechanics.
Yeah, like
That like your citizens like insist that you make a nice looking city.
yeah, they're their house though.
Yeah.
You know, build more statues.
That how you set up your city actually like matters to your citizens, which is unusual in these games.
It's not so much of yeah.
That was kind of a thing in SimCity. Like if you put a residential area next to like an industrial area,
or a power plant.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that way in City Skylines. Oh, there's another real-time strategy. Yeah, SimCity's kind of a real-time strategy with a pause. And it's not competitive! That's why I like it!
The thing that the thing I didn't like about SimCity was its lack of objectives.
City Skylines kind of has objectives, but that's all just get to this population. Now get to this population. Now get to this population.
Yes. I also like that aspect in Anno that you have to reach certain populations before things will unlock.
It's like that in City Skylines as well.
In order to increase your population, you have to like build certain things, and so therefore that like drives you to generate resources or to collect resources and generate things. Could you please stop doing that?
Let me think. Yeah, SimCity, I just thought of that.
Yes.
Like, yeah, city building games. That's... I really like non-competitive strategy games. Things where there's less...
So I have to
Because I'm kind of thinking, I like imperialism, and there is kind of a lot of pressure to be competitive. But
it's not so much that you're fighting other countries, though. You're being trade competitive, right?
No, you have to fight them at some point.
Oh.
Or at least defend from them. Because... Because the main objective in imperialism is control a certain number of the old world provinces.
Ah.
And of course you need the resources from the new world to fuel that.
Okay, so I have to tell this story because it's totally related to this about when you're talking about you like strategy games that are non-competitive. So that was how my mom was. She loved the butter aspect. But she hated having to deal with like people coming attacking all the time and messing up her butter aspect.
And this was in Age of Empires, right?
Yeah, because that was the only one that we knew about at the time. And so Age of Empires had a scenario builder. And one year for her Christmas present, what I did was I designed and built a scenario in Age of Empires that had no competitive combat aspects, but was as intricate and challenging as you could make it without those aspects. That basically you had to... I enabled the full tech tree, you had to research everything, you had to stockpile massive amounts of resources, you had to build a wonder, you had to do all of this different stuff, but it was all completely non-competitive. And it makes me a little bit sad because she would have absolutely loved Anno. Like, I really wish I could show her Anno because she would. That is exactly the kind of game that she would have liked. So, I find it kind of neat that you guys have like similar tastes in that regard.
Yeah. Just trying to think, what other non-competitive games?
Well, there's a ton of like, I mean, if you want to get into, there's games like Sim Farm and Roller Coaster Tycoon and all.
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff.
Transport Tycoon. No,
Yeah.
wait, Transport Tycoon. Well, no, you didn't have to make Transport Tycoon competitive. I always opted out of like putting AI in.
Mm-hmm.
I just liked expanding the getting more money, building more railway, and nothing else, because that was really the only thing that made money. Except for airports as well, but they were so big that because like
Wouldn't it be nice if railway was more profitable than airports?
but airports take up so much space, so they're really hard to build.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the thing like the buses made so little money, like so little profit, that they just
It's a
weren't
very
worth
realistic
it.
game in that regard.
They were just not worth it. And it's just like, but the railways, it's just like transport coal to the power plant, make bucket loads. Oh no, the thing is I loved in Transport Tycoon is it had a production line.
Yeah.
So there was factories, and they took in livestock, grain, and steel, and produced goods. And then you had to take goods to the city. And the steel mill took in iron ore and made steel. And there were things like that. And the sawmill took in wood and made goods. And refineries took in oil and made goods.
I was just letting you know we've been going for over an hour.
I know.
So
Doesn't matter. We can just do a 2-hour podcast.
No, we can't because I have to leave before that.
Yeah.
But I was just pointing that out in case there's anything else that you want to discuss regarding.
More strategy games if I can think of them.
Well, I think we should say some closing words about like things that make a good strategy game.
Well, it all depends on opinion.
Yeah.
You mean the kind of strategy game you like and the kind of strategy game I like?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that we can say with a strategy game is don't try to be everything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, regardless of how wonderful Anno is, don't allocate like 5% of your resources to doing this one thing. And
When you
not
can
actually
allocate 100%.
to doing this other thing. Like, if you're going to commit to something, commit to it. Or if you want to be a good guns versus butter balance, like, say, with Age of Empires, actually have it be a balance.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you're going to be
Because that's the thing, like, as they went on, like, Company of Heroes knows what it is.
Yeah.
Like, the games that came before that, like Dawn of War, they didn't know what they were. They were trying to be all about the battles, but they were all about the battles, but they had just superfluous. Because, like, by the end of a game, you usually had, like, thousands of resources you weren't using. That rarely happens in Company of Heroes. Usually it's you get resources in a very slow trickle. So the units you get are...
I mean, the other thing is, in terms of, like, committing to something is, like, remember that you are a strategy game, and while it's okay to have story elements, don't focus so heavily on the story elements that it detracts.
Don't interrupt the game.
Yeah. It's fine if you have a little bit of story at the beginning or end of a scenario, but don't.
Or even having, like, characters talk in the middle of battle. Just don't interrupt it.
Yeah, as long as the player can, like, ignore it and keep fighting. Like, don't stop the battle. Or stop whatever you're doing. And don't have somebody's objective be to wait for Genghis Khan. Um, and
or the objective to be the absolute opposite of what it turns out to be
Yes.
Command and Conquer 3.
The other thing is that people like playing strategy games so they can strategize, and therefore don't like force them to play the game in a certain way, especially if your point is to have variety.
Yeah.
Whether it's like
I definitely didn't have that problem in Black and White too, because like I said, they only ever used the wonder once, and then you could just rebuild. I found that kind of boring. Just like, well, now that I've rebuilt, they can't breach my walls.
yeah.
Is that a catapult? Fireball.
Yeah, so I mean, the first point is focus on it being a strategy game. And the second part is focus on what aspect or aspects of the strategy game genre you want to emphasize in the game, and allocate all of your resources to that aspect or those aspects, and don't like half-ass other things.
Yeah, because it really just... Because I'm trying to think, Imperialism 2 did have a battle mechanic, and it was okay. But its default setting was not to go to that battle mechanic. It would just auto-resolve. You had to turn on the battle mechanics. And it was like a little fussy and a little annoying. It was all about like positioning cannons so that people charge into them, using like cavalry to soak up cannon fire,
Right.
to then put your cannons in range so that they don't get the automatic cannon fire.
So the other thing is, finally, in terms of, knowing what you're doing and committing to it, don't fucking abruptly switch between turn-based and real-time,
Like what?
like in Lords of the Realm.
Oh. No, that can work. I wouldn't naysay that. Having like the battle system and the over system being different could work. Lords of the Realm didn't work because the battle system was so messy.
Well, when I say abruptly switch, if it had switched and then you're like, okay, my troops are here, it's kind of slow, I have time to maneuver them around. The thing is that the battles are so fast in Lords, there's basically no way for you to control them.
Yeah,
And it's a little tiny battlefield. Like, the thing is, with Age of Empires, when you have a real-time battle, like, your troops start way over here on this side of the map, and their troops are, like, way over here, and you march up to each other, and, in Lords, like, when it switched into the battle, like, the first time everybody was annihilated before I even figured out what was going on. It's like...
Yeah. So, no, I wouldn't say that is necessarily bad, but yeah.
I mean, but it doesn't really seem necessary. Like, I don't see what doing something like that adds to
I
a
don't know,
game.
you could say that in Ultima, the switch in perspective isn't necessary.
No, that does add something specific, though. Dungeons are supposed to be mazes, and you can't have an effective maze with a top-down view. I'm pretty sure that's why they did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you can, just not. You just have to have a fog of war.
yeah, but I mean, there's a very clear like game mechanic that having the switch in perspective in the dungeons like facilitates. I'm not sure what the thing in Lords facilitates.
Yeah. There should be a way to order. Can you auto-resolve the battles in Lords?
Yes, but
It's better if you don't, yeah.
Yeah.
It's unlike in, say, Imperialism, like, auto-resolving the battle generally gets about the same result as doing it yourself. Maybe some troops don't die. That's basically it. It's not like the difference between having 100 troops left or having 1,000 troops left. Not that kind of thing.
okay, but this is my thing, is that if you're making a battle system that's so clunky and unwieldy that people would prefer to have it auto-resolved, why the fuck are you making it anyway?
That's the thing. I sometimes like doing the manual battles in Imperialism. It's just sometimes I get bored because there's a lot of them sometimes. Just like when I'm in the middle of a war, it's just like, no, I don't want to do another one of these battles. It's just going to end the same way. Because there is a certain point where all the battles end up the same because they have the same number of defenders.
The other thing is, I think with strategy games, it's very important for them to be challenging but not unforgiving.
Yes. Same with every game. There's nothing fun about something that's frustrating. You know, challenge is fun, like... Kind of like in Dark Souls, like... It's... not punishing unnecessarily. Like, you can immediately think, oh, maybe if I did this instead...
And in that regard, in terms of it not being punishing, I am not in favor of timed missions.
Yeah, you have to do things by this. That's just stupid.
No, I mean the thing where, for instance, the thing that made me quit Warcraft 3 the first time I played it was the fucking, like, defend against the Scourge for 30 minutes thing.
I kind of like those kind of missions.
See, so the reason it made me quit it is that you were annoyed by this when we were playing Forced. I lost in the last 5 minutes.
Oh, that's right. That's because that came out of nowhere. It's just like, oh, I suddenly have to...
No, it fucking pissed me off because I was like, I just sat here for basically 30 minutes, and if I want to continue playing, I have to sit here for another 30 minutes because there's no way I can do this faster now.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Like,
yeah.
if you have a scenario that lasts exactly 30 minutes and you lose in the last 5 minutes, it really makes the player not want to continue playing because they just have to sit there for...
No, you're right. No, I'm thinking of another mission in StarCraft 2 where the objective is to survive as long as possible, and either way, it's just like, oh, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you do it for like 1 minute or 100 minutes.
Right. That seems like a pointless mission. I would just be like, okay, die, get this.
Well, there's a few like optional objectives if you can do it in like a certain amount of time that gets you bonuses, but not, you don't have to.
Right.
Also, it's kind of fun. It's just like, oh, how well can you survive against these endless waves?
But yeah, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, so we really should cut this off. Unfortunately,
2-hour podcast.
No, we should go now. Sorry.
Okay.
So we'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye.